Hello, today we're going to be on the special topic called illumination. Now, it's part of several different terms to describe how God has revealed himself to human beings. No human being discovers God, God reveals himself. We call that revelation. Creation, the flood, the Exodus, the call of Abraham, God has revealed himself. Then he chose certain people to record and explain those acts, and we call that inspiration. The key text is 2 Timothy 3:16. Today we're going to talk about illumination. This too is a faith presupposition. It's kind of based on John 16, where it says the Spirit will lead us into all knowledge about Jesus and what he said. So there is a certain text to go with that. Illumination is that aspect that the Holy Spirit leads believers to understand. Now, the thing that bothers me, and friends, it really does. I wish I could answer this. Why do so many Christians disagree over the Bible? If the Holy Spirit is leading us, what is the problem? I wish I knew. I think there are some things that point toward it. Part of the problem is the reader's pre-understanding of how to approach the Bible, how to interpret that. I'm really bothered by this serendipity method of sitting around a room and saying, well, what does the Bible mean to you? Let's just read it. What does it mean to you? Friends, who cares what it means to you? You're not inspired. We care what it meant to the original inspired author. Other people, I think, bring personal agendas. I remember a person in my church was in the occult, and he found the occult everywhere in the Bible because that was what he was involved with. I'm afraid we do that to the Bible. Just look for certain things that we're interested in and pull those verses out in a proof text method. The other thing, and I'm screaming here, I hope you hear me. What we've done today, we have allowed people in history who have written systematic theologies, whether it be Augustine or Pelagius or Calvin or Arminius or dispensationalists or charismatics or Baptists, whoever. They have put all of Revelation together by topics. They have key topics that control all the others. And we let them put that grid over the Bible before we read it. We know what the Bible's supposed to say before we read it. So if our theological grid doesn't fit what's being said, we just ignore that verse or cut that verse out or bend that verse to fit what we want. I think a lot of the problem we're facing today is that kind of thing. One of the promises I cling to, even so there's much variety in the church, before I leave that, I think the plurality among teachers and churches is not really a bad thing as long as we're teaching people about the gospel and leading them to Jesus. Because what denominations may do and personal preferences is help us lead some people who think like us to Christ. I hope that's what's happening with all this. Because there is a promise in the New Covenant about understanding. It, of course, comes from the only reference in the Old Testament to the New Covenant is Jeremiah 31 through 34. Now, that covenant is described in detail in Ezekiel 36, 22 through 36. And going back to Jeremiah 31, especially when it says, you will need no one to teach you. So the Holy Spirit's going to lead us into knowledge, not about everything in the world, but about spiritual things, about the gospel, about Jesus and salvation, those kind of things. One more point. I hope you hear me on this. I'm taking this from my seminar on Bible interpretation, which is online free, freebiblecommentary.org. It's the first red box. I believe that the key to understanding the Bible is the original author's intent. I think that is found in the historical setting of the author's day, not mine. It's found in the literary context, meaning every book of the Bible has one central message. And I've got to find the literary units. And the smallest thing we should ever study is a paragraph, because a paragraph is a group of related sentences on one topic. If we could follow the author's intent through literary units at paragraph level, we'd protect ourselves from a lot of this denominational, personal agenda, systematic theology problem. Now, one more thing I'll mention here, and I hope I don't want to really offend you, but this is still true whether it offends you or not. We cannot reproduce the theological interpretive method of the apostles. We can't say, how did they do it so I can use typology? How did they do it so I can spiritualize a text? No, my friend. you're not under inspiration. Inspiration has ceased. You say, Bob, why do you think that? Well, there's several reasons, but I guess the particular text is the faith once and for all delivered to the saints. Jude, verse 20, verse 3 and verse 20. We have all we need to know God and to live a life that's pleasing to Him. So I think that inspiration has ceased, and now what we have is simply illumination, and we disagree. Before I leave this, I've said over and over, particularly when I was dealing with the inspiration, how the Spirit led that. The Spirit also leads illumination. How do I prepare myself spiritually to be a Bible interpreter? This is from my seminar also online. I think every time we pick up the Bible, we got to realize we touch something holy with dirty hands. The first thing we ought to do is pray. We ought to pray that to show God we know we can't do this with our training, our personality, our spiritual gift. No, we need Him to understand the Bible. So I think prayer is crucial. I think praying for cleansing. If there is a known sin in your life, God is not going to give you more and more biblical information until you act on what you already have. There are many damaged Christians that do not get new insight because they have not acted on the truth they've already been given. Thirdly, I think we need a greater desire to know God. Not to beat the relatives in Bible trivia, not to show off in Sunday school class. No, my friend. Our heart needs to seek Him. Psalm 42, as the deer pants after the water brook, so does my heart pant after you. Do you want to know God? Do you seek God? Do you desire fellowship with God? Well, that's a requirement, I think, for more and more information. And then finally, I would say we need to apply new truth to our life immediately. We can't wait and say, well, I'll think about it. Now, before you do that, if it's something that's kind of controversial, if you come up with something nobody else has ever come up with, please take 2 aspirins, take a nap, and ask somebody you trust before you do it. This is what the community of faith is about. Ask a pastor you trust. Ask a Sunday school teacher you trust. Ask another Christian you trust before you act on something that's maybe unique to you. Well, I've enjoyed being with you. Have a good day.